I'm honestly thinking about getting a second
Try
phone
to
just
get
for
it up
quick
this
time
weekend.
because my phone keeps telling me I'm low on storage and I have like a 64 gig chip in here. I'm like, where is it all going?
You got cloud.
I say, yeah, I got the Google Cloud too.
Did you get
Yeah.
you a SD card?
Yeah, it's like I'm trying to figure out where it's all going. It's saying it's all in my apps, and
You
I'm
may
about to
need
quit.
to
64 gigs
format
is
your
not.
SD card as extra memory for your phone instead of like
Yeah.
using it as portable media. A lot of the
All
new
right.
Android phones do that.
Yeah, I was gonna try to explain that, but I'm not a tech person, so thank you.
No problem. Yeah,
See,
usually when you put in a new SD card now on Android, like 11 and 12, it's got this thing on there where it's either going to ask you want it to be portable media, which is where all your music and your pictures and stuff go, or if you want it to be system memory, and that's where it puts like your apps and stuff like that
So yeah,
instead of
because
just using it on your phone.
I don't have a lot of apps. I didn't do
You
Zoom
some
or
on
this.
Android, you think you don't got a lot of apps, but you do.
there's a
You got to
lot
realize
that are
It's
too.
a lot
that
that just come on the phone.
that are
That's the
stopped.
first thing I do is the purge.
Can you still root your root in Android? Is
Yeah,
it?
you can still root
Yeah.
it. Remember, Android is still basically Linux. It can still be manipulated.
I was thinking about rooting it, but then I'm worried with the Samsung. Like if
I
it'll
want
like.
to download Genshin Impact on mine, but that take up so much storage.
You
I
sent me back
have
to my
Bleach
college days
Brave
of Linux.
Souls on the phone I'm using right now, Raid Shadows Legends, and a couple of other things. But I need to get a new SD card because I want to put Diablo Immortal on here.
I might get another one too, so just for our games and stuff. I play Pokemon Go every now and then.
Oh, my
I
son's
keep, I
all into
keep
that.
falling in and out of it.
Me too. I
I mean,
haven't
I do
played
it
for a
like
while.
if
I
I'm going to
mean,
be out and about, I'll play it. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm in a different town. Let's play some Pokemon Go or
Yeah.
whatever. But
I can't.
here in Virginia, I'm like, I've already seen every freaking Pokemon they got here. I'm like,
And I live in a small town, so it's not fun. Like it's really,
yeah.
I'm just sitting in my room catching the same Pokemon over and over again.
Oh,
Not
I
you walking
remember
around
when
your.
that.
Not you walking around
A
your
lot of
room.
the time, we used to rely on Van for a lot of stuff because she used to get the gyms and stuff like that, the battles.
Mhm.
yeah.
We had like two places where we got those where
I
gyms was
got
at,
a
right?
story on that Pokemon Go. This is back in 2018 on Easter, and I can't tell you because it would give away exactly where I live. But the river cuts through here, and it flooded the park. And the park has a movie theater. It has all this shit that's so excites. Motherfuckers were in canoes going into the gyms.
Bro,
I mean,
that's
it
dope.
flooded up to the
Actually,
Secretary of State. It flooded to a movie theater. It flooded to the Save-A-Lot.
I want to
Now,
come
did
over
it
there and play.
do water types? Maybe.
I don't know, but when you see people in canoes going up to a Pokestop, I'm
I
like,
want
I
to
thought I
go.
was bad.
I want to come over there then. That sound lit.
If it wasn't for my Go, I just discovered DoorDash. I would never used it. I'm thinking now, if that would have been around when I was 18, that would have saved a lot of us some DUIs.
Not DUI.
I'm telling you, you can order fucking vodka, beer, and that, and all you gotta do is show an
For
ID, and they
real?
scan it.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
Yep. You can do booze runs, or you can have people booze run for you.
I mean, that's smart if you drinking and you don't want to drive.
Yeah.
It's smart, especially in these areas where we don't have taxis or fucking subways or any of that kind of shit.
Mm.
Well,
Yeah, but
with
the
us,
thing is,
we
with if you
didn't get the
DoorDash,
booze.
you gotta ID people though. If you do it, like, but
Oh
that's.
yeah, they just gotta see how. So
I had a whole
basically,
bunch of kids that thought that was cool. Be like, "Oh, leave outside." No, I'm a.
Oh.
say all you
Yeah,
have
we
to
didn't get the
be is
booze
like,
option until the pandemic, really, with DoorDash.
So what you saying is you ain't let them get it.
I mean, me?
so the whole fucking like
No,
for
I don't do
me.
that either. Like them kids be sitting outside at the gas station. Hey,
No, you're not about
you'll
to get
buy
that
me.
shit from me,
Hey, you'll buy
bro.
me a cigarette. I'm not buying you nothing.
I'm not
I don't
buying you
want to buy
shit.
you. You need to go to school. Matter of fact, what you doing here?
Exactly. I'm about to start questioning you. About to feel like you in trouble talking to me.
Like, well, we'd be up here like, oh, you still drink for fun. Some of us drink to sleep.
Let me tell you a couple of war stories and shit. You ain't gonna like me no more, I can tell you that.
No, it's like,
All right, Curator, you ready?
oh well, yeah, yeah, yep, I'm here. You need me to get my camera back on?
Yes, sir.
We would appreciate it, sir.
See if it let me. Okay, what the fuck is it? I'm ready, my children.
Jesus!
Jesus.
I'm dead. I'm fucking dead.
All hail Jesus.
I'm keeping that in.
In Jesus' name. In
I was
Jesus' name.
I
we
was
are
really
about to
trying
start.
hard to like cut out a lot from the last one, and I ended
It
up
just
keeping.
was funny.
I kept like 11 minutes of us talking because it was just hilarious.
It was funny.
And remember, some people can take my body, but anyone can take my blood.
Jesus for everybody.
All right, we ready?
I've been waiting just to see y'all's reactions, but yeah.
Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your man Roti. We're here today.
And I'm the Sensual Genius.
And welcome back to another episode of the Royal Genius Podcast.
Where we take a look at things affecting the Black community from a sociological and psychological lens.
Plus, we always keep it real.
Today, we are going to talk about irresponsible procreation to determine if it is a such thing as irresponsible procreation. Because, y'all think that babies are blessings.
We're about to dig in and talk about
Exactly.
it.
Only if they're immaculate.
And the only one that has ever been that is me. But we are joined here today with Bert, Curator. William is going to be here, and then we also have Van as well. How y'all doing today?
I'm here.
I am feeling
Make
fine.
You said man, Van. Man.
Oh no, I said I'm making it.
Oh, got you.
Are you making it? That's good.
That's better than nothing. Okay. So we're going to jump right into the topic with the first segment, which is the What's Your Theory segment. How do you feel about procreation in general? Do you believe that children are a blessing?
The question is a blessing to who?
All mankind,
You
I guess.
you could say they could be a blessing to the world depending on how they become or how they are, because I mean, really, what are the benefits of having kids? Honestly.
Legacy is what people like to throw out there.
Screw that legacy word. People who be talking about legacy don't even have a legacy of their own to pass.
And they be the main ones hollering, my legacy, my
I gotta
legacy.
say, like, if you're in the progress of it, or you're actually working towards having something for yourself, that's the only way you can leave a legacy. But just saying I want to leave a legacy or I want somebody to have my last name makes no sense, because once that child becomes an adult, they could do just like my aunt did and legally change their entire name, and you still will have no legacy. If you're trying to pass your bloodline, what is so special about your bloodline? What have you done? What have your ancestors done? What has anyone in your family that you are so bent on passing it on? I don't get it.
And a lot of
So
us don't
again, I
even be
think that
knowing
would
the
depend on who.
ancestors.
At all.
Exactly.
A lot of
So
us
I
don't
think that
even know
depends.
where
Like,
we
they could be a
came
blessing
from.
to the world. Exactly.
Anybody else? Bert, how about you? What do you think?
Depending on how the child is brought into the world and depending on the parents, yes, the child can be a blessing. I mean, that's how I look at it. There are some people out here that are just evil people, and we all know this. And if they bring a child into the world, you're like, oh my God, why would you even plan on doing that?
It's true.
What are your
But
general
then they can
general
turn out the
thoughts
complete
about it?
opposite.
What was that, Royal?
I said, what are your general thoughts about procreation in general?
If done in the right circumstances and with the right people, then it's a good thing. But then, of course, there are people that just don't give a fuck and do whatever they want.
Absolutely should not have.
Exactly.
Procreation in general, in my opinion, tends to happen between two consenting adults, hopefully, that were just horny at the moment and didn't even think that a kid is possible. Because there's so many birth control options out there, pill, patch, day after pill. And people are like, oh, yep, I can just, like a video game. Let's go back to my last save point.
They're just making a save point for another person.
Yep.
I'm sorry. The way he's looking right now just makes it so much more funny.
Well, I see 3 cameras, so these are my wise people right now.
Jesus has spoken. He has spoken.
Let's say.
Go ahead.
And by that word, my last name should be Johnson, son of Jonathan.
Jesus Johnson.
JJ in the house.
Yeah.
But I feel like procreation served its purpose, right? Because we're all here because of procreation. We were supposed to be fruitful and multiply. And I feel like we've done it enough. Like, there's 7 billion plus people on the earth. It's a lot of us. It's overpopulated or whatever. I feel like in order to keep the human population going, procreation has to be a thing. But do I feel like it should be as free as possible? I'm gonna get into that on the next segment, but I'll say this. I feel like children can be a blessing a lot of the times, but it's really the parents who tend to not be blessings to the children. And because you're bringing kids into the world when you're not ready and you have all of these issues and whatever is going on in your life, the generational curses are still flowing. Nobody broke them. You just keep repeating the same bad habits that your ancestors have done. Then you're bringing kids into an environment where it's already toxic, and it's hard enough to get you to change your mindset to get yourself out of that. So to bring kids into an environment where it's already like that is already giving them a rough start. It's already giving them a disadvantage, honestly, in life. I don't feel like people think about it like that. I feel like people think that kids solve everything. They use kids as solutions to problems.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that has always been bizarre to me. Your relationship is failing, have a baby. You trying to hold on to somebody, have a baby.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. It's very weird, and it's unfair to the children. So I feel like kids can be a blessing, but it's the parents who are not blessings to the children.
My opinion is, I feel like procreation is necessary, but it should be planned. It shouldn't be something that you just like Curator said, you shouldn't just get horny and have sex with somebody and then boom, you have a baby because you didn't think about the rest of it. It's consequences to your actions when it comes to that. As far as children being a blessing, I feel like we should change that word. And only thing I can think of is children are innately good most of the time. But
I agree. Oh, I was going to add on to that. I agree with that children can be a blessing, but by that definition, we're saying that all children are blessings when they're still innocent. But what do they grow into? Adults, and not all adults are blessings.
That's why I say that they are innately good. Like they're good from the beginning until you cloud them, with society, whatever environment you decide to raise them up in. But I feel like you said, we're a lot of times people have kids and are not blessings to them But we can dive deeper into that, as we go on. But there's a lot of, we have deep thoughts about this.
Right. It was another question that I have to ask, but it'll come back to me. But you can introduce the next topic if you want.
So the next,
no, I can't wait for Rambo to see this.
The next segment is the "Hear Me Out" segment. Do you think there's a such thing as irresponsible procreation? Why or why not?
For me, it's both. It's like yes and no, because no matter how quote unquote prepared you are, no matter how good of a parent you think you're going to be, no matter how much money you have, unfortunately, you're never prepared until the child comes, and you're constantly learning as the child grows, as you become a parent, if you put in the work to be a parent. But it's like, no, because you have so many, of course it's up for debate, but you have so many great people that have come from bad situations or bad families or bad upbringings. It's like, it's a no to me. It's like,
And
you can be responsible and still fuck up. You can be irresponsible and end up with the greatest results.
And that is true because there's some like very big figures in our media, civil rights that all were children of rape.
That's true.
Say like for example, the old school Adam West Batman when they made Catwoman black. She was born of rape and she wanted to quit the show because she wasn't being treated right. And apparently she went to Martin Luther King Jr. himself and he said, no, stay with the show because you're opening up a doorway for all the other black people and black actresses into the community. Fact check me.
I'll just jump on this real quick too. There's a whole lot that can go wrong with parenthood when it comes to procreation and everything else. And yeah, there are some people that, like I said before the previous comment, should not be having children anyways. There are also some that have been brought into the circumstance for whatever reason, just like Jesus said over there, a product of consented sex. I'm trying to make sure that, if there's a chance where it can be demonetized, it doesn't turn into a bigger issue.
Mm.
But yeah, there are some people out there who, they were young and not prepared to be a parent who, tie up their bootstraps and everything and just take it by the horns and go with it. And they raise amazing children. There are some druggies out there who have kids and have no recollection of it whatsoever. And they end up having the kid and it sobers them up. Or they put the child up for adoption and the child finds a way of life that's better. But then you have some people that are just complete fucking train wrecks that have children. And then the child only knows by the example of the train wreck. And then they continue on with that curse as well. It can go either way. And it's a parent's duty when a child is there to try to rear them in the right direction. But if the parent don't know any better, or if the parent's in like their own bullshit, then they don't have the ability to do that. And it's unfortunate.
Right.
So, I mean, there's a whole bunch of ways it can be irresponsible. But there's a whole bunch of ways where it can change people for the better, and the child can have a better life, or they can find the child a better opportunity than what they can provide. It just depends on the person. It depends on the mindset, and it depends on if they understand that they are now responsible for at least making the child have a better life than they did.
Like the saying, the child should not have to pay for the sins of the parents.
Facts.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Unfortunately, you like Boonie talked about how someone will have a child with someone try to keep them, and then that child can become ammo at the person, and it can be something like that. Let's say the father has it that weekend, and he's mad at the mama, and he'll say, "Well, I'll put the baby in the microwave, and if you don't come back to me." Or like I seen one thing on TikTok that went viral. She was mad at her baby daddy because he went out with his kid on his weekend and bought groceries of what he liked to eat and all that stuff, and he dropped it off with the kid at the front door. And she made a whole video of how he didn't send her the money; he did her grocery shopping for her. And it's
because
like,
he knew
you're gonna go for
what she
hair
would spend that money on, and then he also has the ability to have a record for what he spent that money on, just in case it comes up in court.
That is
It's a
very
whole
smart.
thing.
That's actually
is.
smart. You should do that.
Yeah.
So if you're sharing partial custody, and none of us are giving legal advice, but you know your child, you know what they like to eat. So if I'm sending my child home to my baby mom and his mom, and I know he eats this at my house, I know he likes this at my house, I am being a responsible parent. Me giving you $300 for you to go buy a new bag, have your hair changed or nail changed, does not ensure my child is being fed. Legally, I am to care for the child, not you, your fashion style, or whatever man you might be dating.
With that, I did get both sides because I didn't know the full details for it, but I did hear the woman saying that, you don't know what we eat in this house. And I fully understand that if you have multiple people in the house or you got other kids other than that child, you can't buy food for one person's house and then be like, oh, you're ungrateful, you don't want this. Like, we don't eat this. Nobody, it's a waste of money for one, because nobody's gonna eat it. Like, I get that, but I remember talking to my husband one time when we were actually talking about divorce at one point, and I told him, like, yo, I'm gonna need, like, if you don't, because I'm not really big on child support stuff, but I told him I will need your help with grocery. Like, you see how much we eat in groceries here by ourselves. I'm not trying to get you on child support, but if I request assistance because I'm not making that much money, like, of course I got enough to take care of us bill wise necessities, but full on grocery, like, that shit is expensive. I'm gonna need your help. I said, I don't care if you come with me and you can see exactly what we're buying and you can pay for it. That will work just fine. I 100% think that is a great idea. If circumstances fit for it,
Yeah.
you guys can go together. Like, if you need this help, hey, let me come with you. I can see exactly what you're getting. I see exactly what you're buying. I know exactly what my money is going to. If you need to keep the receipt, you can do that. I've even had a point where uh I've of course he didn't ask, but I sent the receipt. Like, if I did it like mobile order and stuff, I've sent the receipt, say, hey, this is what we got. You see the whole receipt. You can see all the stuff that's on there. You see how much we paid for. I didn't get nothing extra. I didn't get nothing less. That's what it was. So I understand both parts, because I'm not gonna buy what I think you should have in your house. Even though those are my kids, I also know my kids are different depending on where they're going. They will go to their grandma's house and they will eat up a whole box of ramen noodles for fun. Like, they just love the shit. They will eat some Wendy's nuggets. They will eat some chicken. They will eat everything at her house.
I mean, Wendy nuggets are awesome.
But
There's that.
but when
Yeah,
we come home
I've been on
and
winning
I
those.
buy but when we come home and I buy the exact same thing, it stays in that same spot for days untouched. They are different in different places. So, like, I got his point, but I also understood her point. I feel like there should be something else worked out when it comes to stuff like that. Like, y'all should be able to come on good terms with how we're gonna feed these kids and what we're gonna do when it comes to shit like that.
I completely agree that they should go together if there is that distrust.
Yeah.
But there always is that ugly argument of, well, you don't trust me. Well, obviously we couldn't stay together for whatever reasons. The kids tell me one thing, this other thing,
It also matters to who knows the kids best as well, because kids can manipulate you They
Oh, yeah.
understand when there's a divide between their parents and they see that y'all are not on one accord. They could be telling one of you one thing and telling another thing, because they see when your relationship is not healthy. Those kids recognize that and they know how to use it to their advantage, and they can manipulate you and be like, hey, this is what I like to eat. My mama don't buy this, but I like this, and she never buys it. And then you
Right.
bring all those groceries to their house and they eat none of that. And
So
also,
I'm gonna be real here as a dad, right?
Mhm.
So my kid, he's 11 now, right? And he is on that stage right now where he wants to try everything. Now I shit you not. When he wants to try everything, it don't matter if you warn him that it's nasty when you're at the store. Don't eat that. It doesn't matter if it's an inconsistent blend of whatever. He sees it on YouTube. He wants to try it. Like, for 4 months, this little shit was on Takis, right? And I don't know if anybody else is eating Takis here, but that bag with that powder, it's very inconsistent with the flavor. Some of it's intense, some of it not so much. My son's autistic. That's another thing. And so if it's not consistent in a flavor profile, and some are better than others, some are worse than others, it's going to be bad for you. So we were at Food Line, and he's like, I want Takis. I've been wanting Takis. I see everybody eating them. And I was like, you know what? Fine. I'll get you a bag. He got through the bag. Oh, first couple bites. This is really good. How come you never got me these before? Just wait, kid. Just wait. Drive. I don't like these no more. Yeah.
Takis are nasty to me.
Yeah. He gets to the bottom. He's like, not doing this again.
But that happens a lot. They waste a lot of food because they think they like something and then they don't. Their minds change or whatever. So I do feel like in situations like that, y'all do need to have that type of relationship where y'all can come together and do what's best for the kids. I feel like there should be no issues too big for you to be able to co-parent. Like the bad relationship between parents with like the bitter baby daddy, the bitter baby mama, it is so unnecessary. Y'all are not together. Why are y'all putting that energy into each other rather than coming together and doing what's best for your kids? You should be able to put whatever beef you got aside to do that. Like I think y'all waste a lot of time doing that or whatever. But
I think I was gonna say, I think it's because a lot of people don't see the child as 50% of themselves and 50% of the person, and they're only going on their own ego. And they're trying to play the game of, I do this, 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 I can afford this, I can take them to Toys R Us, which used to exist. And like,
bring it back, Jesus, bring it back.
I'm working on that, my son. Now, for the Takis thing, you reminded me of a good example, because my ex, she had when I got with her, her kid was only 3 years old. I raised him as my own since he was 9, and I learned, and I'm always going to be grateful for that experience. I learned that he slowly started emulating me and my habits. So blood doesn't mean nothing. But no, his mom would get Takis, and she has no taste for spice or seasonings or anything, and she would say it's hot. Then I go and eat the whole bag, and I say it's not hot. So what he decided to do is change his mind and start eating them like I was, and his face is getting flushed. He all of a sudden he doesn't want to drink juice no more. He just goes with 3 bottles of water, and he's sweating, saying, "They ain't hot, Daddy. They ain't hot. Mama can't handle it." It's because kids look at each other's parents as equals. And like with my upbringing, I was lucky enough to have my parents, who I don't know how they managed it, because they agree on nothing. My dad is a peace and love hippie Indian, while my mom is a German military Indian. My mom is Pepsi, my dad is Coke. They argue all the time, and my dad always just says, for when he sees this, making up's the best part. And somehow we are functional. Is that we got 2 extremes, but never at any point did it come to the point like, throwing hands or making the child suffer for disagreements. If the mom whooped us and, you're a little boy running to your dad and crying, he doesn't make you feel bad for crying. If your dad yelled at you and you cried, you ran to your mom because like how kids scrape their knees or ankles and you're bleeding. You automatically go to your mom. They don't make you feel bad for being hurt or sad because you're bleeding. And people are like, why do you do that? Well, dad, when you're bleeding, he makes the jokes of like, oh, let me get some rubbing alcohol and some salt. Now, if you're crying and you're a male, that's a little more personal on my end. I'm a male twin to a female twin. I was expected not to cry more versus one was more okay to show to cry more. So that's where I kind of have to end that diagnosis there.
Yeah, I do feel like they do treat kids different about the gender when it comes to certain things like that. But both of them are human beings, so it shouldn't matter if they cry. You should console them and not make them feel bad. To make a child feel bad for crying is a little sick.
It is very sick.
It's sick. It doesn't make sense. But to answer the question, do I think there's a such thing as irresponsible procreation? I feel like it becomes irresponsible when it comes to your intentions for having kids, whether it was planned or not. Your intentions for bringing them here, your intentions for whatever, how you raise them, whatever. But I do feel like it becomes irresponsible when you use your kids as a tool. When they're used as a tool for any reason, whether that's to hurt the other parent, whether that's to get certain things, because people use their kids to get governmental assistance all the time and they don't take care of them. Like, whatever reason, you like, the reason why you're having kids should matter. And I agree with Roy when he said I feel like more it should be planned more. I feel like a lot of people feel like when people don't really think that it's important to plan when you have kids, and I don't understand that. I never have understood that. I feel like it should be something that you plan out more because you can sit and you can think about why you're doing it. I also want to say this. I don't feel like there's any selfless reason for having a child. I feel like every reason that you have a child is selfish because you're doing it for your benefit. It's not really, you can't say I'm having this child so I can so it can benefit them in whatever way when you don't really even know what kind of child you're going to have and how they're going to go through life or whatever. But I feel like any reason you do it is selfish.
If I can add on top of that, because I remember when I was young, I asked my mom why did she choose to have me. I might have been 12 or 13. And my dad is one of 7, children, and all of them are daughters. And his mother only cared about his daughters. And he was one of those overly devoted sons who always tried harder to make his mother happy and was just always slapped down for it. And grandma, I'm not going to say rest her soul because she's burning in hell. And the only reason she hated my mother is because she was good to my dad. And I asked my mom, like, why did you have me? And she said, and I would never forgot this, I wanted to give him something that he can always love that no one could take away. And so that to her was her being selfish. Does she love me? Yes. But she was thinking of my dad. And, he's tried to have kids in the past and they all miscarried. And then he finally got his kids. And my dad is a great father, and he's extremely emotional for, a human in general. I don't want to make it a man thing, but we are from the native background. Grew up a peace and love hippie, so he's all about love, kindness, and caring. And that was my mom's reason. She told me, and it always stuck with me.
I understand that, but I still feel like that's selfish because it's not, and not necessarily because I feel like when we say the word selfish, people automatically think bad, like being selfish is bad. Being human, period, is selfish. We have things, human beings, period, are selfish. We do things to make ourselves feel better. We do things to benefit our desires or whatever. But when I say that, what I mean is when you're any reason, because my mama said that she had me too because she would always have somebody to love her. That's a selfish reason for having a kid because you're putting that on them to do this. to putting that responsibility on them, or putting that burden on them to do whatever it is that you wanted to have them for when they didn't ask for that. And you never know how that child is going to turn out, how their life is going to be. And then them, because I feel like a lot of times you kind of know them having that pressure to always make you feel good because you told them that you brought them into the world for them to love you for the rest of your life. That's hard. That's a hard burden to put on a child.
It's gonna stick with them too.
It is. That's why I say that.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you at all, because when I was going for my RN, we had to take a certain, about 2 classes of high level of therapy. Oh, psychology, sorry. English is hard. But so the professor would pose the question, what is the most selfish emotion? And he said it's love. Because why do you love your husband? Because he makes you feel good. Why does he love that? Because you make him feel good. Why'd you have kids together? Because you make each other feel good. Love is based on your own personal feelings and your own personal perspective of the person. But there is both toxic love and toxic love, where you're doing it because you're trying to trap the person and you love them more than they love you. And then there's I don't want to use codependent. I'm trying to think of the word. When 2 creatures accept, benefit each other in existing. I can't think of the word right
Symbiotic.
now. Symbiotic. Thank you, brother. Symbiotic love.
Yeah, codependent was the first one.
Yeah, where yes, you might have done this because you love this person so much, and he's had failed, and he's always wanted a family and failed, and now you gave it to him, and now you guys have a healthy family, and you raise your kids up, and yeah, there's always going to be problems with children when it comes to child rearing. But in the point, everyone on this podcast started for a selfish reason. Whether it be love, a quick hit, or a drunken night, and plan B wasn't available. Like I said, it's gone after Halloween.
It's funny though, like how you were talking about you guys have asked your parents why they wanted to bring you into the world and everything. I've never asked my parents that in my 30-something years of life.
I don't know if I asked my mom or dad either, but she told me that. That's why she had me.
Yeah, that never came up in the 30-something years of being on this earth. I've never heard that from my parents, never asked them. Just wasn't something that ever came up.
Boonie, did you finish answering the question?
So then, they had sex and she ended up pregnant. She don't believe in abortion. She just did what she had to do.
My mama, it was the same with my mama too, but a lot of people was telling her not to have me. They was telling her that I was going to be sick. I feel like they talked that junk into existence. They was telling her all of these reasons why she shouldn't have me. She was young. She was 15 when she got pregnant with me. So people was trying to tell her that she shouldn't have me for all of these reasons. And that was her reason for having me, basically. Also, I feel like my mama had me to prove to people that she could do it too. It was like I made a mistake, but I'm gonna show y'all that I can take care of this. I can take care of this child. Like I can be a good parent or whatever. So I feel like that was also another reason as well. But I don't think she planned it. No, it was an accident for sure. But I feel like procreation is irresponsible when you, of course, like I said, that's my opinion. What I've established is there's no selfless reason for having a child. So I feel like it can be irresponsible regardless, but I feel it becomes irresponsible to me when you're using your kids as tools, when you're doing it to control somebody, or you're having them to benefit off of them. Because some people have kids because they're hoping that their child gets rich and they can live off of them and stuff like that. People have kids for so many different reasons. Like I know somebody who said they wanted to have a bunch of kids so they wouldn't have to pay child support. People have their
Jackson 5.
People have their kids for stupid reasons.
You gonna be a basketball player? I can feel it in my left nut.
There are people trying to have
why is it always the left nut? My daddy says that.
Lefty's a lucky one. That's why.
I'm sorry, B.
Say that again, man.
I'm sorry.
I said that it's some people trying to push, like, if you have this amount of kids, you don't have to pay either like a certain amount of taxes or whatever, like when it comes to your paycheck or just taxes, period, because you have that amount of kids. I want to say it was like 8 or 10. It was a big number, but it was like 8 or 10 kids. Like if you have that many kids, you automatically don't have to pay something. And I'm like, who is trying to have 10 kids on purpose?
It was a
And
pro-
but
oh,
people will literally, that's they reasons why stuff like that shouldn't be a thing, because people will literally do it so they won't have to do that. But I feel like if you have 10 kids, you should pay taxes. You're putting more people on this planet to be taken care of in some way. You should pay for them.
Exactly.
yeah.
That makes
But,
zero sense.
You're still paying for them in everything you do.
Already have money and trying to cut back on the taxes they already don't pay. But I definitely saw that somewhere that they're saying if you have a certain, I'm cleaning by the way, a certain number of kids, like you don't have to pay for something. I want to say it was taxes, but it was definitely something. If you automatically don't have to pay.
that's
People
stupid.
be having kids so they can get taxes.
Right.
Yeah.
So they can file them on their taxes. Like it just be crazy reasons why people be having kids. And I feel like that's when it becomes irresponsible. Like when you're doing it to benefit you because you're not thinking about that child. You're not thinking about this human being that is about to exist that has to go through life. Like their child, like it doesn't stop when you stop raising them. Like it's like people act like kids are going to be kids forever. They raise kids like they're going to be kids forever. Like it's like they act like they don't understand that we become adults even though they have lived that life. It makes no sense to me.
A
Exactly.
lot of them is poverty. That's why, because some of them they have kids because they're only thinking about babies. Like anytime, even before I had kids, anytime somebody mentioned me having kids, I instantly went to like 8 years old, 9 years old, teenage years, thinking about me as a teenager. Like I'm thinking about the
Right.
actual person. I'm not thinking about the thing that doesn't
Me
have a
now.
personality just yet. I'm thinking about them like as fully functional people, and how am I going to deal with that? Other people, they see it as something else they can have control over and they get
Yeah.
to tell what to do. They literally see it as
That
a part
part.
of them, which I never understood. Like, I understand that, yeah, this thing came from you. If you're a woman, yeah, you made it inside of you, but it's not you. They
It's
have some
not
of your
you.
traits. They also have some of the other person's traits. They have some people in your family traits. They are not you. So you can't treat them like they're you. Like my son is a lot like me, but he's also a lot like his dad. And I have to remember, you're not me. You don't react to the things that I react to the same way. And I
Exactly.
understand that. He is his
Yeah.
own person. My daughter is her own. God, she is definitely her own person.
Yeah, because I ain't nothing
They
like
don't
my mom
see
and
that. They
daddy.
like you're an extension of me.
Maybe a tiny
No, they're
bit, but
not.
my mom and daddy are like they're like people that like it's like life don't happen to them the same way it happens to other people. I don't
It was
know.
like
Boonie, did you finish answering the
Yeah.
question?
I'm
Okay.
done. You can go ahead.
Okay.
my last thing I wanted to say on that subject
Hold on.
is
Let
just
me
sorry.
wait. Garrett, let me go ahead and answer the question
All
first.
right.
Um, so I want to respond to a couple of things that people have said so far. So
I got another
the
question too.
the first thing I want to respond to is what you said, Booney, is there's no unselfish way to do it. And proof of that is you ask somebody why they had children. Well, I wanted, or I thought, or
Mhm.
I felt. It's always an I statement. And no matter
It's
how much
about them.
no matter how you try to fix it, you might people might see this and they want to fix it. Well, the kids, they don't you try to change the language around, it's still gonna be an I statement in there, no matter how you try to mix it up. You did it for a reason, whether that reason is good or bad is yet to be determined.
Right.
The second thing I wanted to respond to before I answer the question is that video, because I saw that video and I see what Van's perspective is as well, but also the fact that you decided to put that on video and the way that she did it, you could see the child's body language. The child was happy and the child was trying to go get the groceries. And the mother stopped him from getting the groceries and said, no, don't do that. So she could film a video. Her intentions were nefarious. If she really had an issue, take it up with that person, but you made a video and pulled your kid back from getting the food. That the kid's actions showed me that the kid's actions told me that he wanted that food. He went straight for the juice one and wanted it. Like, so don't. Like, if you have an agreement like that, there's other ways to handle that. But in the way that she did it was all wrong, and it negates any argument that she can try to make, in my opinion, because she was trying to do it for the views, and she thought people would agree with her, and they didn't. So
I don't know why she would think that.
You can see the whole video. The only part, like, I don't really be paying attention either, though. But the only part, because I didn't even know what y'all talking about. Right, I think I saw like it was a sketch of somebody else, and it was just her at the door with the camera pointed to the grocery, and she was like, "You don't know what we eat at this house." That was all I saw, and I was like, I mean, I get that, but I didn't go out of my way to look for like no full videos, see the full context, and nothing that. But yeah, if that's what she was doing, that's absolute trash.
I saw the original, and she was trying to cause discourse with her baby's father, and trying to get the internet to be on her side. It just didn't work out like that.
It never works out like that. Like,
I noticed that everything on there was
I'll be confused, because it's like they already don't like you. What are you doing?
Yeah, so she failed what she was trying to do, and I would understand if you're trying to make a good faith argument, but that's not how you do it. Especially, my thing was you grabbing the child and pulling him back. He was trying to get these groceries. It's a bunch of groceries sitting outside in bags, like on the ground.
Is it one of those situations where she has more than one kid with more than one dad too?
No, it looked like she just had one on the video.
That's the one.
It wasn't like the one where the guy got the food for his one child instead of like the four.
I didn't agree with that either, because it's like he ain't responsible for your other kids.
Exactly. I completely agree.
like you said, next time I just take them to McDonald's by myself, and then
that was my logic when I saw that video. If you know your kid wants Mickey D's and baby mama has like 4 other ones, and you ain't trying to get them Happy Meals or whatever,
that's
get
not
your baby
responsibility.
Call it good.
Because how you gonna ask one parent? Okay, like, I understand if you ask all of them how many you got, to do something, contribute something, get something for their kids, and if none of them showed up, one did, then it's just gonna be, well, shit, yeah, I'm just gonna have to figure something out for the rest of y'all. Would I do that? No, because I didn't do that in my house. Like, I had a bunch of stepsisters, stepbrothers. If one of us got something, all of us got something. If only one of us could get something and nobody else could, then none of us got nothing. Like, that's how my mama did. And like, I understand you're not responsible for my other kids. I'm just gonna have to figure something else out. Like, that's what you want to do for your child, and I'm just gonna have to figure something out for the rest of them.
There's a way to pull a kid to the side, though. If you feel like they're going to be really worried about something like that, hey, but your responsibility is the child you put into this world, not anybody else's.
I feel like my mama used to just let our daddies do whatever they needed for us, but we also understood as kids, because she kind of just kind of understood life. Honestly, my mama really didn't have to explain a lot of things. If I saw my brothers got something, I never got mad or was like, oh, how they get that? Like, I understand how that's how kids look, but that just wasn't us. Like, they could get stuff all the time, and I just wouldn't care.
I feel like you're teaching a kid to be envious of other people in that way. And that's why I have nephews, and I teach them not to. Like, look, you don't have to get something just because your brother got something.
Yeah.
It's okay. He has something, you have something. It's okay. You don't need to get what he gets. It's life like that all the time.
Right.
If you want something, then you got to go get it. If you wanted that, you can have it if you want it. But somebody gave that to him. But let me answer the question. There is absolutely a such thing as irresponsible procreation. Now, I'm not saying that everybody is irresponsible with it, but there is absolutely a such thing as irresponsible procreation. And the last thing I wanted to touch on was, Van and Bert had talked about those people who, are victims of rape or whatever and turn out to be, great people. I guarantee you, at least 90% of the people that have been through those traumatic things, although they're able to help people, would rather go back and not go through that trauma, but rather go and not to have to live that life. Because I know for me, I'm able to help people because I've been through something. But if I could go back and not have to go, I don't want to deal with that shit again.
It's unnecessary to get to the point that you need to get to.
Yeah, exactly.
You
didn't need to go through the trauma to be the person that you are. Now, some people are able to overcome it and do great things, and that's great. But
that's also rare.
Very much so, because we are products of our environment in one way or the other, and a lot of times the negative shines through more. It's easier because it's the most negative things is in your face. It's just like that's what you see, that's what you're gonna be. You choose it. It's the easiest thing for you to choose. But a lot of people don't know how to differentiate, and see what the good things. So it's a lot of people that don't make something of themselves that are in those situations. They just sit there and double down and pass it on. And there's some people that say, like, you know what, like our generation, I think, is the first generation that's speaking out and saying, no, we're not doing that. We're not gonna pass on the trauma. We're gonna stop it here and continue forward. But it was very, very much so a such thing as irresponsible procreation.
I saw people having a conversation on Facebook about somebody asked the question, if you were a teacher and you had a parent-teacher conference with your kid, a child, and their parent, the child was misbehaving and the parent beats the child in front of you, would you call CPS on them or would you report it or whatever? And the person was like, no, you shouldn't report it, like they needed that, whatever. Or you shouldn't do that. And they was asking some teachers would they report it, and some people were saying no, they would just tell the parent to go to another room or whatever. Some people were saying then yeah, because you shouldn't have did it in front of me if you didn't want me to report it. And they were like, and it was a lot of people in the comments like, we got beatings and look how we turned out. You're turned out being a person who's on Facebook asking people if they saw abuse, would they report it? And when they say that they would, you're mad. That's how you turned out.
I would choose option C and say something right then and there. That's not necessary.
Exactly.
That's not necessary right there. Look, I'm telling you what they're doing wrong, but there's so many other ways to handle it. So many other creative ways to handle it. You choose the dumbest way to do it possible by whooping them in front of
the laziest way. Beating kids is lazy. I don't care how you put it, it's lazy. And I know in one of the comments the person made was like, oh, well, it's a boy. Boys need to get beat. Why do y'all have this mindset?
Bullshit.
Why do y'all have this mindset that you have to abuse your sons in order for them to behave a certain type of way? I will say there are kids that have behavioral disorders, but beatings don't help. I don't care how many times you beat them. It's not going to make them better. It's not.
You can take away their privileges for their electronics. That seems to work out just fine for mine.
That's more than that gonna work more than you beating them.
Mm-hmm. No switch for the rest of the day. What? No, my Fortnite.
I feel like that's a more reasonable punishment because in the real world, when you do something bad, you get privileges taken away.
You get stuff taken away, mm-hmm. Right.
You're already teaching them that this is how it happens, but when you beat them, where ain't nobody getting you ain't getting beatings for like driving drunk and stuff. You get locked up. We
gonna talk about this too.
You know what I mean?
When you get older, those little spankings that you used to get, people seem to enjoy those again. So there's like a whole thing where that don't work out at all.
At all. It ends up becoming this trauma. It ends up becoming like you have a trauma for it, and then it, like you said, coming out in that way. Now you like getting spanked as an adult.
Okay, that's a whole other conversation I don't want to segue into. I was trying to wrap up is Royal, you can actually cover most of it. But just because the child is had irresponsibility doesn't mean you raise them irresponsibly. And for the beatings on children, I'll admit that my mother was a lot fucking harder, and I got beat with anything that was at hand. Sister did not. I got beat with a fly swatter, and then when it broke off my body, I got beat with the wire because I broke it.
Mm. You know
And
what?
if I cried, I got hit harder.
I'm glad you brought that up because that also puts that division between men and women. If you're raising a son and a daughter and you're beating your son for things that they do, but when your daughter does something, you don't beat her, you're teaching him that women get away with everything. Because I've been seeing men on the internet saying women just feel like they can do whatever they want and there's no consequences for it. Like they could just do this and do that. There's no consequences for it. And it's like not all women believe that. There are some women who think that.
Some women that
There
do
are some
because of
women
that.
who think that because of that, because they have not suffered consequences for the things that they've done. But I feel like when you do your kids like that, you're further dividing women and men.
Very much
And
so.
I'm glad you said that. My goal is really she's going for her RN, and her instructor wants her to debate the subject who has it easier, men or women. And me being a male twin to a female twin, I am the unicorn of that story.
Yeah, a lot of men are going to look at it and say women got it easier, but I feel like we both have difficulties.
We both have difficulties. It's just different difficulties.
And honestly, a lot of the times because men feel like they have it difficulties, they make it difficult for women when they get the chance to.
Like I always tell people, in the medical field, if you go up to a man and say, "How you doing?" He says, "I'm living the dream." You need to give that man a hug, buy him a sandwich, because he's 3 seconds from shooting himself.
Did you want to give William a chance to answer the question before we move on to the next one? William,
I also have another question too that y'all can answer quick. But go ahead, William.
William, the question is, do you think there's such thing as irresponsible procreation? Why or why not? You're muted.
I'm Jesus, my son. I can't hear you.
All right.
By my grace.
There's definitely a such thing as irresponsible procreation, and I've seen a lot of it in my own family sometimes. Like when we talk about the whole beating your kid when they do something bad, that's kind of the way, my mom and her siblings grew up. That's what their parents did. To a certain extent, they did that with us too, but it wasn't for every little thing. Like if we did something terrible, like putting our hands on another kid or something like that, because that would happen a lot. And believe it or not, as nice of a person as I am, as a kid I was kind of an asshole. So I would if I didn't get my way, kid ain't do what I wanted them to do. We end up fighting, throwing hands or whatever.
I can see it.
And, so I got hit. I didn't get beat, but I did get hit. You know what I'm saying? And at a certain point, it got me to where I ain't want to get hit no more. So I stopped doing the shit I was doing to get hit. You know what I'm saying? And then it became more of them talking to me like, you shouldn't be doing that. You have to put your hands on him because they didn't do what you wanted them to do. Like, that's not how you handle stuff. You know what I'm saying? So there's a way to be responsible.
Conflict resolution skills.
It creates a cycle once you start doing that. Well, if they gonna hit me, when I hit
I'm
them,
hit them back.
I'm gonna hit them back, and then the next time I'm gonna hit somebody at school, and then or you come get to the point where you want to not get caught, so you start doing more sneaky stuff instead of that.
Because you stop when you say you stop doing it because you got hit. That's rare. That's a rare occurrence. A lot of the times that's the only way some people know how to solve their problems. Like I'm not a violent person either, but I sometimes get pushed to that point. That's my reaction. But also, everybody that know me knows that I'm the queen of conflict resolution. Like, we're gonna figure out how to solve this problem. Like, I'm not. So you have to get me to a certain point for me to do that. But that is something that I know I needed to work on too. Without my mama ever having to tell me, like, it wasn't like I was out here putting my hands on everybody. But I had a rule: if you hit me, I'm hitting you back. Anything, you can do anything else. You can talk, say whatever you want to me. I don't care. That doesn't touch me. But if you put your hands on me, I'm putting my hands back on you.
Right.
Without, I'm not trying to segue off that topic, but because my mom did not spare the rod. My dad, he never hit his children. Well, my half brother, but long story short, he told him, I'm gonna hit you 3 times. None of us know what he did. You put your hands on the counter. If you let go of that counter, I'm gonna restart the counter. That belt whistled. And he buckled his knees, but he kept his grip on the counter. And he made sure all the other kids saw it happen. Dad never hit us. We saw that one hit.
That's how they used to do in school. I think that is like slavery.
That is exactly
that's literally slavery. Like, they used to do that to us in school. In middle school, I think it stopped when we got to high school, but they would like send out these permission slips to ask our parents if it was okay if they beat us. And people who parents signed it, they used to get beatings a lot in front of the class. If you laugh, you get in one too.
Yep. See, now my mom didn't spare the rod at all. And when we were teenagers or adults, we called her out on it. She would say, and verbatim, it ain't shit compared to what I got. You don't know what an ass beating is. I was easy on you. Or I don't remember that. Yeah, because it was your Tuesday. It was my ass beating.
A lot of times parents always conveniently don't remember when they did something.
Exactly. I don't remember that.
Or I ain't never did that. You did it, baby. You absolutely did it. I ain't about to lie.
You did it.
What happened to my incisor? Man, when you punched me in the face?
I ain't did that. Instead of saying I don't remember or I don't want to remember, because that's really what it is. You don't.
I don't want to remember. Yeah.
You don't want to remember.
To go to a grief counselor.
Because one thing about me, I'm gonna remind you. I remember everything. I will remind you what you did.
And it's like you get to that certain age as a man, your mom will keep hitting you and hitting you. You're gonna get to that point. You ain't gonna beat your mom's ass, obviously, but you're gonna make this point is, I'm not just gonna stand here and let you hit me. I think every man here, if I'm wrong, correct me, because I remember my moment because I was 16. My mom slapped me across the face in front of my sister and told me to give her a phone. I put my phone in my pocket and said, "Take it from me."
Yeah, no, I never tried that.
Or you would have got boxed on if your mama was one of our.
The reason why I got slapped is too personal.
I got you.
Yeah, that's something I want out
there. I feel like what Curator brought up about the boys getting the beatings most of the time, I do think that that's wrong. I feel like you should punish your girls and boys the same way, and you should raise them the same way. You don't have to be more gentle on your girls because they're girls. That makes no sense. You're teaching them that there are no consequences for what they do because they're girls. That's not how the world works. And you're teaching your sons to think that about women, that women don't have consequences. There are not consequences for women doing certain things. So whenever they're in a situation when a woman is abusing them, they won't say anything because they feel like nothing is going to be done because she's a woman.
Yeah, see, you're exactly right. Because I know I'm a rare example. Because when me or my twin sister would be beating, if mom was going to whip my sister's ass, I'm automatically joining a fight because she's hitting her, so I'm going to hit my mom back. And if I was getting hit, my sister's trying to hit my mom because we were raised, we're the same person, we're a set, and all that. So, and we've been to each other for all of our lives.
I definitely used to call my mama out. Like, so when it came to my brothers, they did get it a lot easy because I would just question her a lot. And I don't care, you can slap me, but guess what? You're gonna answer this question because I'm not gonna stop until you tell me why you doing something. I'm gonna make you think about that. I don't care. I can take a lick. I don't care nothing about you hitting me. But also, now that that's over, why did you do that?
I don't remember.
I don't care.
You must be drinking too much tea. I don't know.
So
I never did that.
when my brothers came, they definitely had it a lot easier. But I was okay with being the child that had my mama had to learn how to be a parent with, because I felt like that was my role, and I just took on that role. I was okay with that. So, but I'm not saying that that's not cool. But
I don't feel like you should raise the kids the same. I feel like you should raise them according to who they are.
I mean, when I say the same, I mean when it comes to society, when it comes to the world. But of course, I do feel like when it comes to it's different ways.
Each discipline could affect the child differently, because you can take a kid's phone away, or you could say, no, you can't go outside, and it's going to affect them both differently. This one is going not going outside really going to hurt. Taking the phone away from this one really going to hurt. This one.
Yeah, I agree with that, because I feel like you that's also, you would have to get to know your kids, which a lot of parents don't have time to do that.
They choose not to have the time to
you gotta make it. I mean, I'm sorry, like, life is hard. Yeah, you gotta work and do all of this stuff, but you have kids. You have to make time for those things. Because you have to get to know your kids, because I do agree with you. I do feel like you should handle, when it comes to certain situations, you should handle them differently. But when it comes to raising your kids, how to conduct themselves in society, they should be raised the same way.
Yeah.
It's like, exactly. It's like like with the twin situation. If we both want the same video game, you don't get the deluxe version for the daughter, and the stock version for the son. Yeah. And then you get mad at the son for, like, why did she get the better version? Well, she told me first.
That's unhealthy.
But now when it comes to punishments, and, like, I'm trying to wrap up that end, because when I was with my ex and I raised that kid for about 8 years, his mom would go straight to beatings. Mm-hmm. And I would take away his Pokemon cards, which I knew he loved. Right. And I put them on a top shelf where he could see them every day. He asked me, when can I get them back? I said, when I could decide. And he'd be good for a month. His mom would give him a time limit. I didn't give him a time limit. Him seeing them every day, knowing he can't have them, that was way more effective than any ass beating. And 9 years of being with him, I only whooped his ass once because he lit the microwave on fire. We got 2 adults in the house. He tried to cook ramen by himself with no water. And I even thought to myself of how I was beaten, thinking, what can I do other than beating him? And I couldn't think of anything other than, giving him at least one lick across the belt with a belt. But that's my end on that.
Just like that, it definitely becomes hard, like, because you need a solution. You need to show them that they shouldn't do this, so that can be hard. But let beating be your very last resort. At least.
Yeah.
That's the least you can do as a parent.
I don't like
the first thing that you do.
See, that was my mom's thing.
There are many instances where, like, I've learned being able to explain why you don't do something seems to work. And what's crazy is the fact that sometimes common sense is lacking, especially with, like, newer generations and everything. Like, for instance, don't touch fire. Fire hurts. Or take extra precautions. Makes sense to people when it's hot and warm. These newer kids, for some reason, ooh.
And they also I'm not gonna lie, I used to be fascinated by fire when I was little, but I wasn't don't touch fire. It's hot because you're gonna I ain't touching it, but I'm setting stuff on fire. Like, I used to be, but I never got in trouble. Like, I used to be bad, but I knew it was, like, in a controlled environment, if that makes sense.
And then the other thing is, and then the other thing is too, like, they still know, like, when it's wrong. Like, for instance, I remember there was one instance where, like, one of my cigar lighters were, like, in the kitchen or something, because every now and again when you want to make bootleg s'mores and you don't want to, like, do whatever, I would just, like, take a lighter and just, like, burn the marshmallows and then put it on the graham cracker and a chocolate bar. Well, my son got a hold of it one day, and I guess he was trying to do it, but then he burned, like, the freaking counter or something. And you could always tell, because he's really heavy-footed when he does something wrong, and he just does the Sonic the Hedgehog thing. and I was in the middle of like doing a meeting for like during the whole pandemic thing or whatever. And like I go into the kitchen and I see like these little brown spots, and I'm like, dude, did you really just try to do this? Yeah. How did this happen? I don't know. You know, you could have burnt the house down, right?
Mhm.
Really? Yeah, that little lighter could have started a fire and burned my whole house down. And then Dad would have been really mad at you. Do you want that?
Mhm.
No. And then that was the end of it. He ain't touched a lighter since. So I
But
mean, it can happen.
I feel like with the younger generation, they see so many kids doing like daredevilish stuff online all the time. So even if they know it's wrong, they still want to do it because it's the trendy thing to do. It's fun. Everybody's doing it. Like I feel like out of all of the generations, they are more so the follow generation because of social media. Like I want to do what everybody else is doing. If I
NyQuil
see it, I
chicken
want
being
to
an
do it.
example.
Yeah. Like
Uh,
they can know that it's wrong, but they still want to do it because it's
Yeah.
fun or because their friend did it or something like that. Like
It's
my
the
nephew
kid.
is very he's like a mockingbird. He want to do everything he sees somebody. My niece is too, but theirs is different. Like he likes the daredevilish stuff. She like the trendy stuff. Like if she see the kids on TikTok buying something, she want that. They buy a new toy, she want the toy. My nephew, he see the little boy on the bicycle doing tricks, he want to try it.
No, and it's like even my kid, he's all into like the YouTube people like Mr. Beast and
oh yeah,
the toy review guys with the Gujitsu things or the Jurassic
Ryan.
World stuff or whatever. And he's like, I want that. I want to do that. I want to eat this. And I'm like, you're not going to like this. This toy looks cheap as hell. It's going to break. I can take you to Dollar Tree right now and buy you something that'll probably like break as quick as that. But it looks cool. Nah.
Right.
Or it's like how you see those ads on TikTok now for those tablets that they keep pushing or whatever for like $60 or whatever. He saw it on there. Is this a good tablet? I know you're taking. Don't even think about it. It's got like 1 gig of RAM and it's. I'm like, you ain't going Fortnite on it. I can tell you that. Really? No. Okay. Mm-mm. No. No.
Yeah.
No.
And so I feel like it's a different set of rules when they start to be on social media and and they want to copy a lot of the stuff that they see or whatever. So you do have to it is harder disciplining your children, but at least the least you can do is let that be the last resort. Like try something, you got to figure it out. You have to figure out your kids so you can see how to discipline them. It's definitely a learning. I feel like being a parent is a learning curve. Do I have kids? But no. However, I was a child who took care of a lot of kids. And when
That's right.
when I say took care of, I mean like fully. It wasn't just I'm watching you till your mama come back a couple of hours. I mean fully cook for them, helping with
You were the
homework,
village.
teaching them things, potty training, all of that. So I got to experience it early, so that's why I don't have any.
I think the kids just need to know that it's an option because, like I said, I raised that kid for 8 years. I whooped him once for, putting hands on his mama. And then the second time in 8 years, this was setting the house on fire. And he knew the warning was if I took my belt off, I had a nail on the wall. If I take my belt off and I hang it up for the day, don't make me take it down. If I take it down, you know what's going to happen. And that's all he needed. If he saw my
Awesome
belt come
kids
off
need.
and get hung up, perfect kid, rest of the day.
But
And it's a
you have
sweetheart.
some that it doesn't matter. They're going to try you. And I will say, I feel like you should probably seek help for the ones who seem to be playing that manipulation game with you, or they try to do certain things that they know are bad, or their behavioral problems are extreme and you don't know how to handle them. Seek help.
You're right. Me as the boy
So
twin,
somebody
I
need to
I
send
took
help
the
for this
beating.
one over here.
Don't worry, I'm coming over. I'm coming over there to help you out. I got you.
Please do, because this little girl over here, boy, she will do stuff like I was that parent. Like, explain to them, why this is wrong, why you should do this, why you shouldn't do it. That one you can explain 25 goddamn thousand times, and she gonna come and ask you, like, what? It was something she said earlier, and I was like, yeah, I don't want you to do that because I don't want you to hurt your eyes. But what happened if I hurt my eyes?
You go blind, maybe?
Or your eye is hurt. It's hurt.
I was like, okay, you might not be able to see anymore. And she closed her eyes. She was like this. And I was like, yeah, you won't be able to see nothing no more. And she was like, oh, and went on to do exactly what the fuck I said not to do anyway. Explaining shit to her does not work. I can explain
I need to
that
see
shit
for
to my
myself.
Honestly, that's how my nephew is. It's almost like a challenge. It's like, oh, that's gonna happen. That's so cool. Let me do it. That's kind of how he reacts.
Like, we've told them time and time again, we have tile floor between the living room and the kitchen, and they like to run. Like, we don't mind it. Like, fucking run. I don't care. You got your black parents that's like, stop running in my goddamn. Please
I am
run.
that black parent.
Out. Do something. I don't care. Run. Do what you want to do. Just do it quietly. That's all I ask. And they will. All you hear is you hear them shuffling through the house, but you hear little whips as they're like running and shit, trying to run quietly. But I don't care. Run, ride your bike in the house. I don't care. Just be careful. And we've told them you need at least something on your feet when running through on this floor because it's very easy for them to fall. Mm-hmm. And sure as shit, it didn't happen plenty of times. They run in, they fall, they hurt, they cry. And I'm like, yeah, no, you have no sympathy because I told you that's what was going to happen. And now when they do it, they just get back up and they like, I'm not crying. I'm not crying. I'm fine. All right, cool. You learning your lesson. But that little one, you can explain, hey, if you do this, like, she has it really bad, she will do shit and then get trouble and then do something else that will get her in more trouble because she's angry. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how to help her channel that right now. I'm still learning, but she likes to I got them a new dresser, so she can't do that shit no more. But she used to like to take her dresser drawers out completely, turn them upside down and empty them on the floor anytime she got mad at me. And I'm like,
martial arts.
You're hurting yourself because you're the one who's gonna clean this shit up. So, right. And then
totally sounds like a Taekwondo kid.
Put her in martial arts. That's my opinion.
And I'm like, of course it's gonna take too long. Nobody told you to do that shit. Like, why do we have to go through this?
Yep, that sounds like my nephew. He shoot fireworks or whatever in his house at home, man. It must be almost like burn his room down, started a fire or whatever. And he has not learned the lesson. He still loves the fireworks or whatever. I feel like for kids like that, I noticed with my nephew, the energy that you give him. Like, for instance, if he's inching towards something that's bad, he'll like be looking at you to see how you react to it. If you react a certain type of way, like, so if you take the normal approach where most parents are going to do yell and whatever, that's not going to do anything. Sometimes he'll come in my room and start meddling, and I'll act like I don't see him, and he'll just stop and leave.
He wants a reaction. I tried
that with Selena, but she actually gets mad, which makes you feel guilty because now she wants attention, and now she genuinely is sad because you weren't paying attention to her, and it's like, damn, she just wants some attention.
That's the only thing that's gonna help because a lot of the times they're doing it for that reason.
Exactly.
So any reaction that you give them is just gonna fuel it because they want your attention. They're doing it for that reason. So if you ignore them, it's not fun no more because they're not getting the reaction.
Yep.
I set boundaries. I need my fucking me time. Screw it.
I feel you.
I remember hiding in the bathtub with a chocolate bar just for a goddamn moment by myself. Just couldn't can't find daddy nowhere. I'm laying down just.
Your what post?
Did you see my Facebook post?
I don't think so.
I don't have any on
my
Facebook
yet. This was today. I was in the shower. mean, I don't mean like I was just in the bathroom. No,
You're
I
running
was
the
full
water.
on in the fucking shower, and she comes in the bathroom. Because obviously, I don't need privacy. You know, I forgot to lock the door, so obviously, I don't need no privacy. I'm in the shower. He comes in there. Mommy, can I have chocolate milk? I'm like, ain't your daddy in the kitchen? Yeah, he's cooking. What am I doing? You're in the shower. Can I have some chocolate milk? I said, Selena, get out the bathroom. Just get out the bathroom. But I want chocolate milk. Can I have chocolate milk? I said, go ask your dad. But he's cooking. What am I supposed to do in the shower, Selena?
Oh,
Right.
You know
How
she's
old is your
still
baby?
getting ass. 4.
Oh dear God. You got a long road ahead of you.
I do feel like when she get older, it'll be better. But like, yeah, that's a long road.
I think kids don't understand that at all though. They think
They don't understand boundaries. For
they
sure.
don't understand that at all. They understand they want that and they want it now, and you're the person that they want to.
I'm so thankful he understands perfectly because he'll see, like, he can see the look on my face when I'm doing certain stuff, and he'll just know, oh, never mind, I'll come back when you're done. Thank you, God. Thank you so much. I love you so
have
much.
some that are like that, and because I feel like my nephew, he really likes attention. So like for kids like that, unfortunately, in order to get them to behave, you got to be a little mean. You got to ignore them. And one thing I'm good at is ignoring. Okay, you want to be bad? I ain't see nothing that you doing, and it's not fun to him no more because he not getting his reaction. He not getting fussed out. He not getting whatever. He'll just leave.
You ignore Selena, she gon' do little things like to show that she's mad. She's gonna get right next to you to show you that she's upset. And if the longer you ignore her, eventually she's gonna come to you and tell you that she's mad at you and she don't love you no more. And I'm like, that's okay. That's fine.
Like, oh,
you don't
okay.
have to.
Keep it moving. Oh, okay.
Can I do that?
I guess you ain't getting no chicken nuggets anymore.
You don't have to love me. I still love you. Now, what do you want? And she was, well, I'm mad at you. Okay, that's fine. What do you want?
Mhm.
Like, hurry up and tell me what you want.
She wants you to feel some type of way that she mad.
Right.
She do, but it takes so long. I don't be wanting to play that game because she can keep that up for hours, and then she'll come to you and be like, "Can I have hugs and kisses?" And like, a part of me is like, "No," because that's a reward for doing something you weren't supposed to do. And then the other part is like, she just wants some love. Just give her some love. And it's like, damn, which do I do? Do I give hugs and kisses?
At that
I
point,
try
it's
to
like
tell her,
hard.
hey,
Like,
I love you, but
what do you decide at that point? It's like,
I'm
right.
gonna keep being mean. I ain't even gonna lie to you. You like, all right.
No,
You
as a parent, like even when my kid was being a you still gave them the love that they need because like you're not just gonna like stop loving your child because they do something stupid.
Not for real, but I'm gonna make like I don't.
No, I don't even play that because you're still my baby. I still brought you into this world. I'm gonna show you that although people suck,
yeah, some kids be having behavior problems that you got to do something. You can't keep rewarding it.
Now, if you're gonna kill a puppy or something like that, you ain't. No, we ain't doing that. But if you're just doing some stupid petty shit or whatever, no, you're still my kid.
Petty, yeah. But if you setting your room on fire with fireworks, you're getting ignored.
If you're summoning demons in my house, you probably ain't gonna get any love and affection from me. I can tell you that now.
Sorry.
I just set a fire to the room. Can I have a hug?
No, I'm not giving you anything.
I just brought Beelzebub into the world. Love me. No.
You summon a demon.
Yeah, but you remind me of Dad a little bit because I got caught cutting class once when I was like 16 to go make out with my girlfriend at that time. And the school called my house, and by the time my mom picked me up, because we came back, I got the text on my little old flip phone saying no from the other people who were skipping with me. And my dad said, I'll handle this shit to my mama. And then he takes me outside, makes me get in his truck. You know what you fucked up on? What is it, sir? You got caught. I was like,
and at that time, you're old enough, to know.
Right.
If you summon a demon in my house, You don't live in my house no more. That's it.
If you summon a demon in my house, I
Better
want to know
pay
what
rent.
steps you took. If you summon it, I want to know what steps you took to summon this demon, and you're going to send it back.
Because hell, I'm
You
always
summon a
dressed
demon
up
in
like the
my house,
Messiah.
you taking care of it.
And something you're gonna send it back. I'm not being bothered by no demon. You better know how this demon gonna be occupied.
First off, is he bringing in groceries? Because he might actually have a moment. Is he gonna file my taxes?
Right? Can this demon grant wishes?
Nobody don't get offended with what I'm about to say. I would just stop. I would just check my imagination and stop that part. You know, that's all I mean. Because
What?
I would just check my imagination because that's what I'm hearing. You know, I don't think that.
Oh,
Here you go,
okay.
bud. This should last you a week.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. But you're gonna have one of those situations.
Yeah, it's
where
gonna
you
be
gonna
something.
where you gonna wish that it was your imagination,
Yeah,
and I'm gonna
yeah.
need you to stop asking for it.
Low key actually said that one of mine actually might do it at some point in their time in life because I got my crystals and stuff, and Ciel has taken a real interest in crystals as well, which I'm perfectly okay with. But now his dad does ghost hunting, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we do ghost this," and then he's talking about aliens, and I'm like, as proud as I am, I'm also terrified that you're gonna fuck up like horribly at some point.
Wait a minute, ghost hunting?
If they fuck up that bad, just call on me, my child.
David. Wait. The question that I wanted to ask was, how do y'all feel about population control? Putting a ban on how many kids people can have.
Can I touch that one first?
Yeah, you could go ahead.
I'm gonna grab a drink.
That is heavily based on culture and religion. Because there's, like, I was just reading an article on Taiwan and how in about 60 years there hasn't been a female born to a single family. They're killing it at birth because they have yes, Asian countries, it's all about passing on the man's name. China, you're restricted to 2 children, and say all the men in this family on their second children, they legally have to get fixed. So your grandparents or the mother or the nurses, you might slip them something for them to unalive that accident so you can try again for a son. And that's the whole reason of why daughters, like if you want to, adopt a baby from Asia,
don't you have to have women to give birth to the baby? So why are the women the ones?
Because it's all about the last name. You're 100% right. It's all about the last name in their culture. Well, they're still under feudal era religion back from the samurai days, where your name of your clan was everything. See, I'm from the native background, so for me, your gender does not matter. With my band, the Potawatomi, as you would call us, we call ourselves Nishabe. The women are considered our history keepers. Because at times of war, we would cut our hair and only keep one band. Women never cut their hair because you are the ones who translates the history of our culture. And what clan you're born into, well, I was born into the Fish Clan, the Stargazers. We were the philosophers of the band. We were the ones you came to for insight, philosophy, this kind of things. And we also were the peacekeepers of the Crane and Loon, the 2 clans that always argued. So that was our role in the band of Indians. And I only say Indians because it's a lot easier for the viewers.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Okay, natives and indigenous.
Do that.
It's like I spoke to you earlier of how much backlash I had. It's my mind's just there right now. But you're right. Anyways, are you saying, Royal?
I was gonna say, as far as population control, I don't think it should be a ban like all across the board. I feel like I would be more inclined to agree with a case by case basis, like more of like a a test and examination of somebody's household. Like, are you prepared for it? No,
I
not can
think
you
they
not
need
not
to.
can not can you get prepared in 5 years? No, are you prepared for it now?
So not population control, but basically responsible procreation.
Responsible, yeah.
Exactly.
I would much rather that than tell people what they can and can't do as far as that's concerned. Because there's some that are capable and ready for that and can do that, but if everybody across the board, okay, 2 kids, that's it.
It's like we always backtrack to, last name and culture. Now, if we go on the indigenous side, anywhere from the Shabe to, the Geechee, no one's counting how many kids we're having. But, if Jim Bob down the road has 18 kids, no one blinks a fucking eye. When he knows they can't afford it, he's getting government assistance. But any of us on this podcast, we're lazy if we get government assistance. I was on reservation. Apparently, we're all rich. But let me tell you about that Indian grant, as they call it. It covers medicine and law enforcement. Not what you want to be, because they expect you to go back to your reservation.
They really call it the Indian grant?
Yes, they do.
That's disrespectful, bro.
Because Columbus, when he called us Indios, which was Spanish for Indian, because he thought he found India. And then other cultures came over here, and that especially in the Carolinas, where the Dene half of me comes from. The Germans.
Columbus sounds stupid.
It shows
He
you how
pretty
much
much
of
was. He couldn't read a fucking map.
Fucking idiot.
It showed you how much of an idiot he was, and then the fact that there's a day named after him, number one, and that they still teach about him in schools.
Man, it's stupid.
It was stupid. He really thought he found India. The fuck is wrong with you, bro?
But I agree with what Royal said. Like, I don't agree with population control. I don't think you should tell people how many kids that they should have, because I feel like when you start doing stuff like that, it becomes what Curator was explaining earlier about the Taiwanese people. I think you said now you have there's that war between the genders. Now it's we want this many women, this many men, but it don't make sense because women have kids. If you want to keep the population going, why are you killing off little girls? Who are your sons going to have kids with to carry that name?
It's like I brought this up before on a previous episode. If me and my girl have a kid right now, I take them to my band and my tribe, and I say they are my tribe, where she is, what most people would call black, and that child is native. My girl is learning Cree. She's going to be accepted, even if she has 0% native in her. Learning one of our languages makes her native. Because how many people who are reconnecting to tribes or trying to reclaim the roots learn their indigenous culture? Because the blood quantum is for dogs and horses. That's period.
Because they literally fueled this state, South Carolina, with Gullah culture, and they don't teach us nothing about it in schools, and that is crazy. We don't even have no event here. I feel like in Charleston they do more things, but I feel like when you say the low country or I think it's a low country, that is usually the area that is rich with the culture or whatever. We still speak the language and stuff like that where I am and in other places, but we don't.
And you have 7 dialects.
Right. We don't have we don't have the celebrations, is what I'm saying. We don't celebrate.
There's a lot of Black history that's never covered in books. It's just like where I'm from. Tulsa, Oklahoma is not that far away, and no one has ever really talked about the Tulsa massacre that happened when it used to be when Tulsa was like, it had its pocket of like an all African American community, and it was basically called Wall Street. And there's been instances where I've talked about it either on Facebook or somewhere, and you always find somebody that's like, I've never known that. I'm like, funniest part is if you watch Watchmen when it was on HBO,
I was just about to bring that up and covered it, and I love the way they covered it. That's why I could tell you when you got to watch it. They the way they covered it was perfect. Like they're still finding bodies today, and testing them to tell people who they possibly were related to back then. That's crazy.
That's crazy. And
Like
here too, like it's Gullah Geechee. I think they say that Geechee is Georgia. Like the people that are in Georgia, Gullah is the Carolinas. But it's crazy
the River
that
Talk dialect is
for
Carolinas, I believe, because that's the one I was running.
okay for us for Gullah people or whatever, we call each other that. But Geechee is low key a derogatory term that they call us because of the way that we talk. It's
Uh-huh.
it's frowned upon to be Geechee in South Carolina, even though that our culture is basically the few
It,
of this state.
it's because it's mixed with French, the Geechee. And that's where the hatred comes from. But, some bands try to reclaim it. Kind of like how
Right.
my band, like, they would call us savages. So if I wanted to say, like, you look good in your cosplay, I'd be like, "Go, you looking deadly."
Mm.
And, that's me saying you're looking good. We're trying to take away a word from them and, put a
For
positive spin on
I
it.
feel like for us, it's still a derogatory term
It
because
is.
even my people, if they refer to people from Charleston as Geechee, it's like we go back and forth with the no, you Geechee, no, we literally, if you was to put us together, other people would be like, y'all all sounded like y'all need to shut up. We do,
Now,
but it ain't go. It's like a go back and forth or whatever. But I feel like I feel like there's a little deeper than ours, but I still feel like it's stupid. But it's still pretty much derogatory to each other. And then people who are not Gullah, when they call you that, that's like frowned upon. Like, oh, you Geechee, like y'all talk. That's how y'all talk. What I remember this person telling me, like, you from King Street or whatever. Like, you don't sound like it. Like, y'all, you don't sound Geechee or whatever. And I'm like, I definitely do have the accent.
Boonie, I
But
will have to ask you, are you offended by Geechee? Because I do have other
I'm
friends that
not.
are in Louisiana, and they own up to Geechee rather than Gullah.
Mm.
So
I
that's
call
a
myself
kind of a
Gullah, but
change
I'm
for
not
me.
offended. I'm not offended by it. I never was offended by it. I didn't understand like why it was meant for me to be offended by it, but I was never offended. I'm not offended by it at
It's
all.
like how they called us in the Constitution as savages. And even though I'm pale skinned, but my hair is jet black, I got people that stare at me asking if I'm Asian or Hispanic. It's like,
Mhm.
no, I was on reservation. I am a native. And they like, well, you don't look like an Indian. And I just always tell them, how many of us have you seen?
Right.
Have you gone to a powwow? They're open to everybody. And that's why I think I was talking to you today about posting the mass graves that are being
Mhm.
dug up. But I don't want to make the whole podcast about, Indian,
It's cool.
shit.
It's
Oh,
cool.
I'm sorry, native stuff.
Did you answer the question how you feel about population control?
Population control, my answer is I think worldwide, or at least especially America, we need to start restricting on how many people can have kids. Because if you look at just college based, like me and my girl are both nurses. When you have two college educated people who get together, the census is they have 1 to 2 kids. Now, when you have two people who work at the slum of the slums jobs, working at McDonald's and everyone's working down at Wendy's, they have 18 kids they can't afford and they expect the government to take care of them. And then they see a single mother of the African American community with 2 kids working her ass off, they get mad. It's like, okay, she's working, she's on her own, she has 2 kids, but you're 2 adults of 17 kids and you're mad. You're the ones that need to watch how many kids you have.
Mm,
Well,
I
and if you
understand
want
what
to
you're
go
saying.
biblical, raise no more demons than you can put down.
So you feel like if you can't take care of them, you shouldn't have them, basically.
It's like, stop trying to do the Jackson 5. Don't be her playing your kids like a lottery ticket.
Got you. What about you, William?
I'll say that I totally disagree with population control.
Okay.
And I will also say that make sure that if you are going to have a bunch of kids, if you're gonna be on some Nick Cannon, at least be able to, at least be able to take care of all of them. Yeah, be able to afford it. Like if you go into it and you can't afford it, then don't do it. But if you can and you feel like you can handle it, you got the means to handle it, by all means go ahead and do your thing. But if you don't,
How many people got those
I
means?
feel like if you got 10 kids, you should should literally like break off from civilization and like create
start
a
your
village.
It's much more than just having money though when it comes to that. You can't just throw money at a kid and say here. You have to be there for time, and that's the problem with Nick Cannon. He has the money.
I don't agree with
he has the means to take care of them financially.
Yes, financially, yes.
He does not have the time to split between all those kids.
Right.
Yeah,
especially the fact that they're by different women. Like if they're all in the same household, you can be a present parent.
Yeah.
You are not a present parent if you are coming around on Christmas and their birthdays and shit like that.
And it is not. And when he come around, he can't stay long because you got 10 more kids to go see.
Exactly. You about to get them all fight. It's gonna be like that on Scary Movie. I came here to pick up my son.
Yeah.
And he picked him up,
put him back down.
And let me add this as well, and counting, because he ain't stopping either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with Royal.
Not to sidetrack too much, but I have a close mutual that I met on TikTok. He had his first kid at 50, and now he's 54. Yeah, I know. And the relationship didn't work out. He's always worried about spending time with his kid. And I told him, like me and my sister, all we remember is like our dad worked third shift, and and my mom was done for doing it right after pregnancy. He was working 2 jobs. We remember the time he spent with us, not the money he spent. Like on my wall, like my dad was a carpenter. I have the first hammer he ever gave to me hung up. It's an iron hammer. The wood's cracked. I don't use it no more because, well, it will fall apart most likely. But I remember the first tool my dad ever gave me, and that's how I know how to repair my own house and how I do my own electricity and all that. It's the time. It's never the money. And if you have multiple kids, like 10, 17 of them, tell me you can't place the favorites. Put that on the Bible.
I mean, my parents have 3, and we can clearly tell who was the favorite out of the 3.
He said,
yeah.
If you ask my siblings, every single one of us gonna say we the favorite out of all.
No, my 2 sisters will straight up tell you that I'm the favorite.
I'll joke around and tell my mama that the middle boy is her favorite, but I'm her favorite. Like
I'm the middle boy out of 3. And the other 2 were girls, and they wanted a son.
I was absolutely not the favorite.
I do think that parents do play favorites, even though they will deny it. Like we don't have a favorite.
Oh yeah,
and sometimes maybe it's not even that you intentionally do, but you're going to have different relationships with your kids, and I feel like parents tend to favor the one who is easier to deal with.
You are correct. The parents tend to favor, psychology-wise, the one that more replicates their own personality.
Yeah.
No, I don't replicate either of them.
If you want,
I don't replicate my parents either, but I feel like it's they pick the easiest child, the one that doesn't give them a hard time.
For me, I don't think I have favorites as far as nieces and nephews go, but I have ones that I bond with more, and usually the ones I bond with more are the ones that are not getting the attention. So I feel like they need it.
That's usually too why I feel like the favorite too, the one that you're gonna have you have that closer connection with. It's not intentional, but because y'all have a different relationship.
It goes back to being selfish.
That's true.
Did Bert answer that question that you asked? Did I miss it?
No, I didn't answer it. I don't believe in population control either. I mean, yeah, having the government too far into your own personal business just isn't a fan of mine. But
come on,
when it comes to making sure that somebody is prepared for having children and having that upbringing, they need to make sure they're as ready as they're going to be. Unfortunately, we live in a world where inflation is a thing, Whereas, like, it might have cost your parents maybe a couple of $1,000s to get a kid ready for the world. It's going to cost more to do that. Groceries is at an all-time high now. We're talking about, at one point in time, grocery rates were increased by 15%. So you're going to pay more out of pocket as well if you're not ready for that. Diapers and all the other necessities, same thing. People need to understand all that comes with it. It's not just bam, 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 child comes out there and you're good to go. There has to be all the other things that are taken into consideration. And then also the time that you spend with that child as well. Just like everybody else has been saying here, there's some quality time that happens. And you have to remember, you're not just done between the ages of 1 and 5. It's an ongoing thing. And like my kid now, he's almost a teenager. And even though he does his own thing, he plays online, he does all that or whatever. He has his friends, he does that, he goes across the street, whatever the case may be. There is still those times where it's like, hey, Dad's in the kitchen, you want to cook with me or something like that? Or, if he's got a question about a girl, I'm now answering questions about girls.
That has to be fun, isn't it?
He's like, there's a girl at school I like that. Oh my God, you've only been there a week. I am not ready for this conversation. You need to come back in like a month or two when you find out she farts and it smells like ass. Or something. Or she wears the wrong color.
Men love stink farts.
I don't know who told you that.
Conversation.
They low-key like it.
When I got my first girlfriend, my dad asked me, "What's her name?" I tell her name. He's like, "Oh, where she live?" Cool. You fucking her? What? I don't even know what that is yet. My dad's like, "You fucking her? I can get you condoms. Mama don't need to know."
I mean, my dad literally did the same thing for me. My kid is of a whole nother cloth, though. He's the soft, affectionate, mushy type. So it's kind of like.
So was my dad.
You're right.
But he don't believe his boy ain't fucking.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, my boy is more likely to be the one when the girl tells him no, that he's probably going to be playing Drake songs in his room or something like that. I'll be like, where the hell did that come from?
But before we move on to the next one, I do want to say one thing. I would be totally in favor of a parental license.
Thank you.
It is easier to get a license and everything. It's more difficult to get a license, than it is to have children nowadays. We should absolutely have to take a test and all of that to see if you're ready to have a kid. You got your parental license. I'm sorry, you can't have a baby right now.
Some people who best that it still not be good.
Well, I literally did my thesis on that subject. That was my thesis for my fucking certificate.
But I get
that one of the two must have a fucking license to rear that child.
Not
and then
one of the two, both shouldn't it? Both should have it.
You want Disney drinks now?
So I know in the military
about that, like there should be a contract to say, okay, if you're agreeing to have this child, you cannot back out once it starts getting rough. If it does start getting too rough, you agree to put your child up for adoption because you can't handle it. It's very tough. But I understand, some people do want to try to toughen it out because it is hard. It can get hard. Some people can't handle that hard, and they should be able to do something about it, but it should also be in the best interest of the child. Like, don't just out to the wolves and be like, here, put up for adoption. Like, do a good transition or something.
So I know, like, one thing that we did in the military, like when you hit a certain rank, like it's E4 for those of you that don't know. That's usually like when you're a corporal, a specialist, or senior airman, or whatever the case may be. When you start growing up, basically, and the military realizes you're growing up, you can move out of the barracks. But there's a whole lot of stuff that comes into play for you to get signed off to get your own apartment and be more civilian-ish. One thing is setting up your monthly budget. And you have to make sure that your leadership is all aware of it. So for you to say, hey, look, I'm of a certain rank, I'm of a certain age, I can be out in the world, and I'm a responsible adult. Okay, well, show us where your money's going. Do you understand taxes? Do you understand this? Do you understand that? Do you understand how to blend into society in any way, shape, or form? Something like that added onto your license theory, that would probably be a great idea.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's a great idea in theory, but bruh, if that had to happen, we would definitely be the minority.
I mean, the American like
Especially
child
if we were
rearing would be
still,
like at a down.
if we were still be living in like these circumstances where we are, and we put that stipulation on it.
Yeah. Our GDP would be at a halt, basically, compared to every other country that's constantly growing and going through like advances and everything. America would basically be at a standstill for it. But like I said, personally for me, I don't really feel like the whole control thing should be a thing. I just feel like more or less like finding out that people are responsible adults that can possibly raise children is probably the best idea. But if we were to go to a licensing, then yeah, like I said, the controls in place and making sure people understand that you're a responsible person would be a thing.
It's not a control thing. Go ahead.
If only our society was morally capable, because the rules are always going to not be in our favor when it comes to that. You got to have licenses. Oh, they're going to get all the licenses, but we're never going to qualify because we are never up to their standards. It's never. Right. It's not going to be fair. So, if you want to control our race, go ahead and do that.
Oh yeah, it will be population. They will use that as population control for us.
100% for us. That's the only thing about stuff like that.
400 years. Blood quantum.
But
it's crazy.
The Royal Genius Podcast will return next week with part 2 of our discussion about irresponsible procreation. Please stay tuned, and thank you for watching.